The brutality of the Russian onslaught on Mariupol grows more dire by the hour. The heart-stopping sounds of shelling every few seconds. People lining up for supplies, cooking what little food they have in the streets. A dead body on a bench. And days after a theater was leveled, tonight yet another rescue operation is underway as Ukrainian authorities say Russia bombed an art school with about 400 people taking shelter inside. Ukrainian's President Zelensky saying the assault on Mariupol will go down in the history of war crimes. The city council there says that Russian troops have rounded up thousands of residents and sent them to so-called filtration camps to be processed before being deported to Russia. NBC News can't verify that. But meanwhile, Russians are seeing an entirely different story on state TV, claiming evacuees are arriving in Russia willingly. Also today, Ukraine's deputy prime minister, citing intelligence reports, says there are signs the Russians are preparing to capture the humanitarian corridor near the ravaged city of Kharkiv with landmines. This woman just escaped from that region, terrified. During the bombing, she was trapped in her basement for hours with her 2 children. No water, no electricity, and she had to leave her husband behind. I want the world to see how many people they have killed, she says. In this security footage, obtained by the New York Times and not verified by NBC News, would appear to be Russian soldiers storm an apartment building earlier this month outside Kyiv. The Times reports they took up sniper positions in the building and held some residents hostage. But more signs of resistance, defiant Ukrainians protesting in Russian-controlled Kherson. Still, for the second straight day, Russia's Ministry of Defense says it used hypersonic missiles in combat, the so-called dagger weapons that fly up to 10 times the speed of sound, and that analysts say mark an escalation of the war, since the missiles can evade air defense systems.
It is extremely important that we prevent this conflict becoming a full-fledged war between NATO and Russia.
As many in this country pray for an end to the bloodshed, tonight a solemn tribute. Ukrainians kneeling on the side of the road, honoring one of their fallen soldiers.
And Gabe joins me now. Gabe, we have some breaking developments out of the capital of Kyiv.
Yes, Kate, Kyiv is under an air attack tonight. According to the mayor, several homes and a shopping mall have been hit. This is video shared by the Interior Minister. So far, no word on any injuries, Kate.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.